shutdown.info. We are running our series on YouTube, and today we have with us Chick Lawson from the workers. He's an atomic worker group, and he will tell us it's the nuclear workers really who are working on as whistleblowers, and he's been doing this for 21 years. Chick, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me. I greatly appreciate
good. We're here in Lucasville,
Yes.
and that's near the Piketon plant.
Yes, it is.
And is the plant still running?
The plant is not running. It's in shutdown, and they are actually disassembling the plant,
Oh, are they?
which is a very dangerous job in itself because the Department of Energy, there's things happening there that the pipes that they said were empty, they aren't empty. There's material in them. There's still U-235 and U-234, and the important thing about that, the U-234 is 3,000 to 10,000 times more radioactive than U-235.
And they're disassembling, what is it, a couple hundred people, you think?
Probably, I think there's over 1,200 people.
Doing it right today.
Yes.
Do you think they're being monitored properly?
In my opinion, they are not being monitored properly. And the reason I say that, they are putting up what they call barrier tape. And it's a yellow magenta tape. And the people that's 5 feet away, behind this tape, the other person is cutting these pipes with acetylene torches. When they do that, that turns that solid back to a gas. That's what we would have to do when we have a freeze out. So it's leaking out, and it's coming over to where these people are without fresh air or gas mask.
Oh my goodness.
And
There's no protective guard.
No.
Well, and your concern, our concern is always for workers, but we're talking about workers of an earlier stage.
Yes.
When you worked at the plant, 3,000 or possibly we're talking large numbers.
When I hired in there, we had 7,000 employees, including the contractors, because they were building GSEP at the time. But normally it hovered right around 5,000 employees.
From Kentucky, Ohio, and
West Virginia. Yes.
And many of these, you said they had mortality studies that took place, and they already show a number of them has shortened of their lives.
Yes, Department of Energy asked for a cancer study. I had just got into the safety as safety officer for the police department. In that study, and I'm going to be very brutally honest, I believe that DOE, with the parameters they set, cooked the numbers.
Department of Energy.
Yes.
Federal government, yeah.
They cooked the numbers, and the reason I'm saying this, in the final study, we had to pull every death certificate from anyone who worked there. If they worked one day and decided, I don't want to be here, and left, we had to count them. Now, the other thing is, let's say Joe Black is in the hospital dying from lung cancer. Most people get sepsis at the end stage. If the doctor wrote sepsis instead of lung cancer, we couldn't count it. And so it changed the numbers, it diluted the numbers. They have admitted with the study to 1,800 deaths. Now, in my opinion, we're looking closer to 3,500 at the time that study was done. And it's a lot higher now.
Well, what year was it done?
That was done, started in the mid-'80s, and I'm trying to think the finish-up date, it's so long ago. That was probably around 87, 88, around in there.
Tell us about your own condition.
Well, I was with the Special Response Team Anti-Terrorist Unit. Our job was to protect the plant. We worked in the vaults where we stored the material that we made for the nuclear warheads. Those vaults, you have what they call cells. In those cells, there's thousands of miles, and I mean literally thousands of miles of piping in those process buildings. A cell goes to the next cell that steps it down, steps it up into enrichment. So the seals were leaking, but we did not know. We had gas masks. They had an alarm system. The company officials, along with the other union, members, they wired around the alarm system so it would not sound. I've got the documents on that. That was found out in 1990 in the Tiger Team report that we're getting ready for privatization. Because they said we have too many violations that when they fall under OSHA, they couldn't stay open. The other union agreed that if they would pull that part of the report out, they would keep their mouth shut. They didn't tell us. So now I have beryllium, it's in my blood, it's in my lungs, it's in all my organs now. Because of that, I have severe shortness of breath. My blood oxygen will go down to 84 if I don't have oxygen on, and I now have to use oxygen 24/7.
Do you have workman compensation from that plant on that?
No.
And that's what part of the problem is, isn't it?
It is part of the problem, but what we have is what they call the Energy Employees Occupational Illness Program. Now the problem we have with that, Lockheed Martin, who is a contractor for DOE, Department of Energy, when I was investigating another incident, I discovered that they had falsified our dosimeter badges that reads our radiation. Our police department, we were getting up to 12 rem a year. Now, the limit is 5 rem. The drawback on this was if they reported it, and when they said if you got that 5 rem, they would have to send you home for 1 calendar year, stay at home because you can't work around radiation for 1 calendar year, but they had to pay you your full wages. That was the driver, was the money issue. So then what happened was DOE, Department of Energy, along with Lockheed Martin, they had one of their managers take all of our radiation records and the chemical records, everything, and they literally put them through a wood chipper. I reported all this to OSHA. OSHA only fined them $2,500.
But they admitted they were wrong.
They admitted they were wrong, but they went back and fought it after they got rid of me. And then OSHA dropped the fine, the $2,500 fine. Now, by law, I was an OSHA certified investigator, went through their school. Department of Energy and Lockheed Martin sent me to their school. They could have fined them up to $100,000 per document because the law says you have to keep each document for 30 years and 2 days. At 30 years and 2 days, you can only destroy that one document. That's it. By then destroying that, they could not produce the lifetime dose of anyone. So now, when we went to Washington in 2000 for the Senate hearing, that's what our testimony and our information is what helped get the Energy Employees Occupational Illness Program. So now, at our plant, we have a 79.1% turn-down rate of the workers that cannot get their benefits. They admit they gave me a card, and it's a Department of Labor card, is what they're doing. We don't go through unemployment or workman's comp, which is, I think, sort of wrong in itself, too. But they give us a card, and I should have been prepared.
Well, that's all right.
I already had it out to show you what it looks like. But that card, what it's supposed to do, once you get that card, it's supposed to cover, and that's what it looks like. That's supposed to cover all of my medical illnesses that's contributed to the plant. Now, with me, the problem with this, that last code is for the beryllium. They are paying for my oxygen. And if I need medicines, they pay for that. But under the act, it says that I'm supposed to get paid a down payment lump sum of money. At first, they said they were going to pay me. And then they changed their mind. And when I went to refile on it, and I asked, why aren't I being paid? And the resource people for Department of Labor, their exact words were, sorry, you're just not sick enough yet. But I'm on full-time oxygen now. My lungs are basically destroyed. I'm at 57% impairment on my lungs. They admit I've got beryllium. I couldn't even have a lung transplant if I wanted one because the beryllium in my lungs would contaminate a new set of lungs. I'd be right back where I was at. And I know that. And the specialists say eventually I will suffocate to death. That's what's going to happen. And there's nothing they can do about it. But it's...
Are you going to reach a level where they will pay, as they say, or are they just going to keep reneging?
Hopefully I will. Hopefully I will be alive to get it for my family. So, and that's part of the problem because they have what they call survivor's benefit, but it's a little bit less money, and it shouldn't be. You know, they say, okay, if you get one, they originally had 33 cancers that they said, okay, if you get one of these 33 cancers, we're going to give you $150,000. $150,000 is a drop in the bucket to have cancer, to go through all that pain and suffering that you have to have, that comes with the cancer. The medical expenses. Paul Brogdon, a friend of mine that you know, he has had 7 hearings in the last 12 years trying to get his cancer certified and cannot. He has way over $20,000 out of his pocket expenses for his cancer because they won't certify it yet. That's the problem we have. And with the records being destroyed, when you go before the adjudication board, you have to meet what they call 51% causation. They can't do that because they destroyed the radiation records. We have documents where NIOSH in Cincinnati, who is over the program for the whole country, not just our plant, but all of the plants, they have, and I've got the documents, they admit that we know there's a criminal conspiracy at Piketon, Ohio, uranium enrichment facility, but it's not within our purview to do anything. We rebutted that in open forum, saying, yes, no, you do not have a legal arm to go after them, but when you find criminality, you have a legal and moral obligation by law to report it to the appropriate authorities, which they've never done.
Now, are the people in Hanford, Washington, and the Attorney General, they're listening to your cause now for the first time?
Yes, they are. And what happened when we did the radio show out in California,
and we will show that at the end of this program.
They found out about that, and I believe it was through Ralph Nader, because we did another show in February with Ralph, and he made some people aware. He made Mr. Chaffetz, Congressman Chaffetz, aware of it, and some other people told the people in Hanford. They looked at it, they contacted Jeff, the other investigator I work with, and we were showing them, said, what's happened at Hanford parallels with what happened to us. And we can show you by documents what they're doing, what they're going to do, and how they're going to do it. And so now they have their investigator is contacting us, and they have asked us if we would testify, and we've told them we will do that.
So things are starting to move, finally.
Finally.
But you've been working on this since the 1990s.
Yep, since 1994.
So it's almost
22 years.
22 years.
Yeah.
You are a whistleblower who is constantly at it. You prayed over it. You persistence in your work. God's been with you.
Yes, He has.
And you've continued, and someday we're going to get retribution for what's happened, hopefully. But we're talking billions of dollars.
Yes.
If we're talking about 3,000, 5,000, 7,000 employees.
Yes. Basically, one thing that we have done, if a person gets awarded their money, what is supposed to happen? You get your $150,000, you get your medical card that covers all your costs. Then they are to reimburse you for your out-of-pocket expenses. Now, if the insurance company doesn't know that you've been given this, then they don't know to ask for their money back. And we have strong reason to believe, and I have to say it this way, from what attorneys, in our opinion, they are purposely not telling the insurance companies. They are committing insurance fraud against the companies, because just like on a workman's comp, if you get hurt on the job, you go to the hospital, they treat you, you give them your work insurance card. When it becomes workman's comp, then they reimburse that insurance company back. That's not happening. We have written Mr. Perez, and he's the Secretary of Department of Labor, made him aware. We have sent a stop and desist letter on this issue to him, to the Justice Department, and to Department of Energy. Now, their response to us was, we don't know of any insurance fraud. I don't know of any, is what Mr. Perez said. We said, well, just because you don't know it doesn't mean it's not happening. So.
Well, you've got yourself into some really big issues.
Yes, sir.
And this is not only there, but it may even include Paducah, Kentucky, possibly?
Yes, sir. I have every belief in my mind, from the evidence I've looked at, that Paducah is involved, Oak Ridge, Tennessee is involved, Hanford, Washington is involved, the plant in Colorado where they made the nuclear triggers, they're involved. What's scary is I'm looking at these young workers that are going to work out there.
Even the ones over here cutting the pipes right now.
Yes. They are being exposed. We have two big issues. One, there is plutonium on that plant site. Department of Energy and Fluor is denying that. I've got documents that says it is. They actually brought another plant. It's called a pilot plant from Huntington, West Virginia. They took it and buried it without any liners, nothing. They just dug a hole. They dug a hole you could put my whole neighborhood down in it and still put 3 or 4 more on top of it. And that is buried. That had plutonium, californium, and neptunium, the documents I got. We received the documents through a FOIA that the congressman in West Virginia filed for, and he gave it to us. Now, it is on the internet also. The other issue is we have the Taze River. It's an underground river. It starts up above Bell Fountain, Ohio, runs the whole length underground, Ohio, down through Kentucky, and I forget exactly where it empties out, but it's a long river. They are building a waste cell, and they're going to put this, and it's going to be right over the Taze River. If those materials get into that water, the little town where I live here in Lucasville, my drinking water comes from the Taze River, as do other surrounding communities in the area. So we've got multiple issues that we are trying to fight. We have contacted John Kasich, the governor of Ohio. We've contacted Mike DeWine, the Attorney General. We have made them aware of the criminality that's going on. They have used what they called themselves the Ohio Drug Task Force to actually kick in people's doors, and they told them they would search their house for drugs. One lady, she had an 18-month-old baby. They took the baby out, literally held a machine gun on it in the front yard, had her handcuffed. The neighbors are seeing all this going on. And when she goes, what did I do? I'm a nuclear worker. I've got a Q clearance. He says, you've got drugs. You're going to go to jail. Well, of course, they couldn't find anything. When they stood her up and took the handcuffs off, they whispered in her ear, if you talk to Chick Lawson or Jeff Walburn again, the next time we come back, we will find drugs. That's not the only time this has happened.
In other words, anybody that cooperates with you, Chick, is going to be, in some ways,
I have to protect my resources, and I do that.
This is very serious, and it's an area that we are very happy to be able to report on YouTube, and we're going to hope that we can duplicate it and send it to other people in the country. This is perhaps the biggest issue in Appalachia today.
Oh, yes.
And yet no one wants to talk about it. I have never seen people so reluctant to talk about an issue as this one, because we're talking about tens of billions of dollars and
Exactly.
thousands of people.
Yes. And they're holding people's jobs over their head. When I didn't wake up one day and say, gee, I want to be a whistleblower. Basically what happened, when I investigated, I had to make a moral decision. Am I going to keep my mouth shut and stick my head down in the sand and let it go by and keep my job? I couldn't allow myself to do that. I spoke up, I did what I was legally supposed to do. In '97, I got injured. I had to go to the hospital. And I was told by our union, and I won't use their names, but the exact words were, he says, Lockheed Martin and USEC, United States Enrichment Corporation, along with DOE, he says, they are scared to death of you. I said, why? They said, because of your religious beliefs. They know you can't be bought. And so they're not going to let you come back to work. And they had me medically retired. It took them 3 years. I had got subpoenaed to federal court. And I said, why am I here? You're going to be retired today. I said, you've got to be kidding. There's people out there that's a whole lot worse off than me that are working. But that's what they do. If you look at Tamala Lasitis, look what they did to him out of Hanford, Washington. They did the same thing. He was able to get a lawyer to sue. Fortunately, I have not yet found one that will take my case, because the lawyers in this area, they don't have the war chest to go against DOE. A good example is Jeff Walburn's case. They paid a law firm out of Columbus, Ohio, Boyer, Sater, Seymour, and Pease. We got the documents. They paid them $119,000 to fight a workman's comp case. A workman's comp case. But what people didn't realize, if his case had went to court, it would have stopped privatization, along with Mary Bird Davis's report.
Who worked with us for a number of years. Yeah.
She said something happened in '94, but we don't know what. I have never seen that report, and I called to tell her what it was, and she had already passed. I didn't get it, but I did tell her husband, and he gave me your name. That's how I got to meet you.
And we're very happy that we're able to help you in some way, to connect you with Ralph Nader, and hoping that this will keep on going to where our country and the world will hear about the needs of your people. Thank you very much, Chick Lawson.
Thank you, sir.
Glad to have you. This is Al Fritsch from Earth Healing, and it is our YouTube program connected with nuclear waste materials and whistleblowers who are fighting it at this time. Thank you.